Good afternoon and welcome to the State Representative District 12 debates. I'm your moderator, Noah Galilee. We sent invitations to all, but only Mr. McWhorter and Mr. Hollingsworth elected to attend. Now to the rules. No one is allowed to accompany the candidates as we don't want outside influences impacting the debates. Number 2, no cell phones or electronic devices of any kind can be worn or in the possession during the debate. Number 3, we do not allow any pre-written statements or notes. People want to hear what you have to say, not what has been prepared to say. The only notes permitted are those to be taken during the debate. Each candidate has been provided paper and pen just for that reason, and it will be taken up before the final statement. Questions are formulated by the Tribune crew members before the final questions are decided by a vote within the group. Questions alternate from A answers first, then B follows. In this instance, Mr. Hollingsworth will go first and then followed by Mr. McWhorter. The second question, Mr. McWhorter will answer first and then Mr. Hollingsworth. Each will have the chance to answer first on 4 questions and second on 4 questions. This is to even the field. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to introduce themselves and what position they are running for before this debate begins. Once the debate has concluded, each candidate will have 2 minutes closing remarks, but this cannot be used to make accusations. This next rule is for all questions. If accusations are made and the other candidate has already spoken, then they will receive 45 seconds to reply to the accusation with no further rebuttals. All right, gentlemen, are y'all ready for our debates?
Yes, sir.
Ready.
All right. Mr. Hollingsworth, since you were won the coin toss, would you like to go first as far as the introduction?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Clint Hollingsworth. I'm running for House District 12 seat. The vote is July 15th, and just want to remind everybody to show up to vote. I'm a small business owner. I'm a cancer survivor. I'm also a father of 5, 4 children here on earth, 1 in heaven. I am been married to my wife, Leslie, for 28 years. And it has been an incredible experience on this campaign trail, and I've learned quite a bit. I'm also currently on the Cullman City Council and in public service, and really have enjoyed seeing the private sector in my business, but also being in public service and having experience in both. And it's been wonderful seeing a lot of you guys on the campaign trail and learning more about your communities and hearing from you guys on what your needs and wants are, and look forward to serving you guys in Montgomery. And I appreciate your vote, July the 15th.
All right. Thank you, sir. Mr. McWhorter, your turn.
Yes, I'm Dan McWhorter, been a Cold Springs resident for 35 years. I run my own business out of my house, selling and servicing optical emission spectrometers. Been married for 40 years to my high school sweetheart. We have 3 daughters and 9 grandchildren. It's been a wonderful experience to get out and meet the people of Cullman. I have traveled for a living, so it's kind of a new experience getting into town and meeting you guys, and we certainly look forward to representing you in Montgomery.
Thank you both for the introductions. And we'll get straight into it with question 1. This is involving hemp and CBD ban, HB 445. Mr. Hollingsworth, do you support or oppose the new Alabama law banning smokable hemp products? And how would you justify this decision in light of the economic impact on small businesses, farmers in our district?
I certainly think that there had to be some guardrails in place, and I know there were some mixed emotions and debates back and forth with kind of just anti-everything group versus the business side. And obviously, being a small business owner, the last thing I want to do is to do anything that's going to be detrimental to small business. We've got it hard enough as it is, and it's important that we try to do the things to make the climate where small business owners can survive. And so this bill here, I know there's always the positives and negatives of anything, but it is important to have some type of oversight and make sure that, number one, public safety comes first, and there's nothing going out there that's going to harm folks. And so it's important that we understand exactly kind of the devils in the details of any of these bills. And so certainly it's important that we understand that, and going forward, you know, from what I've been hearing, going forward, some of the main issues is listen to your constituents and what's important to them. And I've heard this topic pop up, not as much as roads and bridges and schools and those type things, but I'll certainly be glad to educate myself going forward, assuming I'm able to get elected.
All right. Thank you, sir. Mr. McWhorter, would you like me to repeat the question?
Please.
All right. On hemp and CBD ban HB 445, do you support or oppose the new Alabama law banning smokable hemp products? And how would you justify this decision in light of the economic impact on small businesses and farmers in our district?
Well, I oppose it as it's currently written. The people I've talked to who run these shops are for a lot of the rules or the law as it's written. The child-proof labeling, the packaging, the testing of batch products are all something these people agree on. The smokables, you run into a couple of different versions of smokables. You have vapes and you also have flowers. I think they would give up the flowers if they could get a certain type of vape manufactured. We've talked specifically of bringing all of this manufacturing process into Alabama to be controlled by the state of Alabama. So that would give us another industry to work in this state. So that's something that we would look forward to. I think the bill has good guardrails on it. I've looked at other states and their modeling of this type of industry. Missouri comes to mind as that they have isolated the material from the public. In other words, you would have to walk through an enclosed door and identify yourself, make sure that you pass a legal identification to be over 21, and then you would go into an adjacent room and be able to purchase the products. I think that's a real good way to do that. I don't think in shutting the industry down the way it's written right now. Also, I think the trace amount of THC at 0.03 is almost an incidental element, even though there's a lot of cannabinoids that can be derived from that level. So I think it needs work, and I would be against it in its current form.
All right, thank you. And we're going to move to question 2, which starts with you, Mr. McWhorter. It's on the topic of medical marijuana. Where do you stand on Alabamians finally having access to medical marijuana in Alabama, but yet they don't have access to medical marijuana? Do you believe current feet dragging and restrictions are too much? Why or why not?
Absolutely. I think medical marijuana, back to the smokables, I think once you go into the medical marijuana side, then that's where the flowers would come into effect. That's where the smokables would come into effect. I do think that it's being held up. I think we have, from what I understand, one company that is holding this up legally because they're not included into the licensings that were put forward. So I'd say open it up to one more licensee and let's get this show on the road.
All right, thank you, sir. And Mr. Hollingsworth, would you like me to repeat the question?
Sure.
All right. Medical marijuana, where do you stand on Alabamians to finally have access to medical marijuana in Alabama, but yet not to have access? Do you believe current feet dragging and restrictions are too much? Why or why not?
Well, this hits home to me. In 2006, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma at age 29. Went through several scans, obviously 6 rounds of chemo, one of which was called the Red Devil, and it lived up to its name. And I remember, of course, my wife having to take care of me, but in the middle of the night having excruciating pain that I felt like I just had lightning going through my joints and bones. It was awful. Certainly something that Tylenol was not going to take care of. And so I know there's a lot of folks out there that have either gone through what I did or something similar, or seen a family member struggle and go through. So I would be the last person to tell somebody when it comes to trying to help with certain pain that they can't pop a gummy to try to help them. If that will help them and they get relief physically and really mentally, then that's the scary thing with cancer. It affects you mentally and physically, and that caretaker is also involved in one that's trying to help you. And so that's one of those that hits home to me. And certainly, like anything, there's use and abuse of anything. And we see that in other things. And I think it's something that certainly, like I've talked about before, the devil's always in the details. When anything is presented, you want to look over it, make sure you understand what's being presented, and make sure before you cast a vote that you truly understand what you're voting for.
All right. Thank you, sir. And now we're going to move on to question number 3. And Mr. Hollingsworth, this goes to you. This is on rural infrastructure, so we got to the bridges and stuff. And
Of course.
So the question is, what is your plan to help improve rural infrastructure in District 12, especially roads, water system, broadband internet? Who should be financially responsible, the state, developers, or local government?
Well, you know, we have all seen this locally. Tim Culpepper has done a fantastic job with the co-op with what we've seen with broadband. And I know we all went through COVID and kids and trying to get Wi-Fi and all these different things, people in business for themselves. I know Dan was talking earlier where he lives and running a business out of, you know, his office and home. There's a lot of people that work from home and need high-speed internet. It's crucial. And I think it's important that we kind of don't lose sight of that when you talk about infrastructure. But we naturally talk about roads, bridges, street repair, all that kind of stuff. I've been a part of a lot of this, 157, seeing that finally come to fruition for our hospital, our industry, our residents, our businesses. Even though that was such a 3-mile stretch, it took forever to try to get funding in place. Roads and bridges and all that is very important. Being on the council, seeing Eva Road Bridge getting done, seeing Larkwood Bridge getting done after it was washed away with an awful storm, securing over $20 million for St. Bernard Bridge, which we all been screaming for that project. We've got to have help from our state and DC to get these projects done. And it does not happen in a couple of years, one term, sometimes 2 terms. It takes time. And so it's important when you get to see these things through and be a part of it. It's so rewarding at the end to see the benefit for all of Cullman County. And that's what I'll continue to do for this district.
All right. Thank you, sir. And Mr. McWhorter, would you like me to repeat the
Sure,
question, sir?
sure.
All right. All right, it's on rural infrastructure. And what is your plan to help improve rural infrastructure in District 12, especially roads, water systems, and broadband internet? Who should be financially responsible, the state, developers, or local government?
I believe all 3. The state, obviously, 157 is a state road. 278 is a state road. We did talk to AlDOT on the bridge by St. Bernard. They have plans to 2-lane that from 4th Street out to where the 2-lane is at, I think it's the 69, 157 interchange. Yeah, the roads itself, broadband is, I think, already been discussed. Sprout is out here. They're going through the county. I have it. It works great. Very reliable, high speed. Have been begging for that for years, so I think that's been a wonderful addition. The water is interesting in that we live on a dirt road. For the last 35 years, it has a 2-inch water line. There's not a fire hydrant within a mile. So, but I don't want to say we're used to it, but we are. There's not enough road money. There's not enough taxes coming back to Cullman. Cullman has the 2nd largest amount of road mileage behind Jefferson County. One of my platforms is to try and to get a negotiation with the legislature to change the distribution from a population base to a road mileage base. and see if we can't get some more money that way. I've been told that's going to uphill battle. I'm sure it is. I don't anticipate any of my legislative products to be just a slam dunk. I'm sure you got to work with people. I'm sure there's compromise, and but if you don't try, you're never going to get it done.
Yes, sir. And that leads us to question number 4. So we're going to kind of move away from those and all that. So question number 4 is public safety and mental health. So this is for you, Mr. McWhorter, to start. Do you support funding mental health crisis centers and training for law enforcement on mental health calls? How would you improve rural mental health access?
I'm going to be pretty honest on this. I have not really thought about the mental health side of, especially when it encounters with police department. I do know that that is an issue that a lot of people have lost their lives with encounters of the police with police. I'm always surprised that some of the encounters have turned into fatalities. I always wonder why deadly force is used, especially when someone is apparently not a complete threat. I can understand where you want to protect yourself as an officer, and I think that is a difficult question, and I haven't really gone in depth on that particular topic, so that would just be my personal opinion.
All right. Hey, we appreciate the honesty, and that's what everybody wants. And Mr. Hollingsworth, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
All right. This is public safety and mental health. Do you support funding mental health crisis centers and training for law enforcement on mental health calls? How would you improve rural mental health access?
So this kind of looking at this in multiple different ways. I wish really Cindy was here because she's talked a lot about this on the campaign trail about mental health in the school system. And I've talked to a couple counselors, and it's really scary at the ages of these children that have got severe mental illness issues, and it seems to be younger and younger, like second graders, first graders, and it's really concerning. And I know a lot of families have dealt with mental illness in their families where it doesn't seem like whatever money you throw at it, time you throw at it, counseling you throw at it, government, whatever, it doesn't work. And it's so hard because dealing with somebody with mental illness, it's like you're throwing your hands up because you want to help, but you're trying to figure out how to do it. I know on the council with Chris Van Dyke has done a really good job locally and being able to try to help folks, and we give appropriations every year to his organization that will help a lot of our locals. But it just seemed like it's never enough. I've got a brother who's a local police officer, so I hear from him of dealing with folks that just are hard to deal with, and it's a big issue that needs to be discussed, and it's in the school system, it's in obviously everything that we're involved in of just dealing and trying to get help for these people. But what's going to be effective? Is it medication? Obviously education, these type things of how to deal with it. And certainly I'd be a big proponent of trying to tackle this at multiple different angles.
All right. Thank you both for that answer. Mr. Hollingsworth, number 5 is for you. It's workforce development. What will you do to strengthen workforce development programs, including trade education and partnerships with local employers?
When I think of workforce development, I think of what the county has done with an opportunity for kids and the city to be able to go to work. College isn't for everybody, and our workforce, it's tough. You look at employers; they're all scrounging around trying to find employees, and they're having bidding wars with all of our industry trying to keep good employees because it's a lot of competition, which is good, but our workforce, it's a double-edged sword. We've got one of the lowest unemployment rates in Cullman County, which is great, but the pool of applicants is really tough when it comes to filling these jobs. Wallace State comes to mind. Miss Vicky has done a fantastic job down there at being able to partner with our industries and companies and businesses to try to have these students a opportunity in a career, not just a job, when they graduate from Wallace. And so there's just so many different things, but at the end of the day, there's so much opportunity here in Cullman County. If somebody wants a job or career, there's places that they can be hired at. And I think being a part of that during my time on the council of making an environment where we have a strong economy and a strong workforce, we just need to be able to keep supporting these folks, and I'm proud to be a part of that and continue to work hard for this whole district and the Brett Critters of the world that hire in his plant, and these are local folks mostly that rely on that plant to support their family. And seeing this from a local level and the people, it's been tremendous to see these companies expand and grow and want to locate here in Cullman because they've got confidence in this area.
Thank you, sir. Mr. McWhorter, would you like me to repeat the question?
Sure.
All right. It's on workforce development. And the question is, what would you do to strengthen workforce development programs, including trade education and partnerships with local employers?
Well, currently, I think the biggest impact would be to promote the dual enrollment programs that are allowed out of the high schools. This would allow people who are not necessarily looking to go to a four-year college to get a trade through Wallace State in welding or some other technical application or trade. And that would bring me to my one of my planks on my platform, which is a standalone lottery bill. We are putting kids in Tennessee and Georgia through 2 years of trade school, technical school, and or a junior college, and tuition free. And I think that's something we should be doing. We should stop giving our money away to these states. We should break out the lottery from the Class 3 gaming bills that it's attached to. That would be a constitutional amendment, so everybody in the state would get an opportunity to vote on that. So I would think that, and that's one of my platforms, is to get our guys trained up and pretty much, you know, educated, cost effectively. And from what I understand, even the dual enrollment right now, if you have a dual enrollment, then some of the high schools actually pay for or waive the cost of going to, say, Wallace State for a technical degree.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you both for that question. All right. We're probably going to give you just about 60 seconds more on this question. This is kind of a larger question that's been at hand for the last couple months, actually for about a year now. So Mr. McWhorter, you'll start with this.
Okay.
And this is question number 6, and this is involving SB 322 in Smith Lake.
Yes.
All right. This is multi-tiered, so if you would kind of answer in order, okay?
Okay.
Have you read SB 322 in full, and could you explain in your own words what it actually allows? Specifically, do you believe this bill could open the door to annexation without voter input or create tax advantages for out-of-state developers? What is your stance on the bill, and please elaborate.
I have read SB 322, and I've also read SB 328, and I think it does open up tax advantages for investors that are from out of state. It appears to me that the annexation portion of it is something that they're probably going to come back to the city of Cullman and ask for some type of bond issue. The Porch Creek Indians are definitely involved in this. It goes into potential casino gaming. If you look at the last casino gaming bill that was put forward in 2022, I think it was SB 293. What they do not go into is twofold. One is you make the Porch Creek Indians monopoly of casino gaming. They can put casinos in the racetracks, dog tracks. and they're allowed to have up to 4 casinos. But nobody else is allowed in. There's no room for a Binion or a MGM. I'm not personally for casino gaming. Since it would be a constitutional amendment, it would have to go to the people. It does seem to, the gaming seems to lean heavily on the fact that the lottery's attached to it. That's why I want to break the lottery out. That, again, that would be a constitutional amendment to be voted on. There's other things that are going on behind the scenes. There's an actual bill in Congress, the Senate, sponsored by Katie Britt and Connie Tupperville. It's SB 1750. It would allow the Porch Creek Indians, who were only formed or recognized as a tribe in 1984, to fall under the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934. This would allow them to form a council, or what they would have to do first is called a feed of trust procedure, where they would hand their deed over to the Indian Affairs, and from there, if that's accepted and that bill's passed through the Congress, the United States Congress, then wherever they have land would be historic tribal land. So they could form a committee and do whatever they want to with it. Back to 293, there's no, it's not a solidified bill, so anything can change in that bill, which would allow them to possibly have what's called satellite casinos. This would allow for up to 300 different gaming machines at a different location. And again, as Clint says, the dirt's in the details, and there's a lot of them there.
Thank you, Mr. McWhorter. Mr. Hollingsworth, would you like me to
Sure,
reread the question?
Absolutely. Yeah, my ADD's kicking in.
It's all right. That's all right. We've only got a couple more questions after this, I promise.
Oh, yeah.
All right. This is question 6. This is SB 322 in Smith Lake Resort. Have you read SB 322 in full, and can you explain in your own words what it actually allows? Specifically, do you believe this bill could open the door to annexation without voter input or create tax advantage for out-of-state developers? What is your stance on the bill, and could you please elaborate?
So, yes, I've read over the bill. I really have not spent a whole lot of time on this, mainly because nothing has really been presented to me as a council member, and I don't know if there ever will be, but if there will be, obviously I'm going to be off the council by then, and so whoever is elected will have to deal with that. But like any annexation, it has to come from the property owner. So whoever that property owner has got to send a request to be brought in. And now I've dealt with that quite a bit because of neighborhoods and folks wanting to be part of the city school system or for whatever reasons, but most of the time it's the school system. And so I've been a part of that. And so that's basically something that's not a slam dunk. There's still requirements and steps and procedures that are in place that have to be gone through in order for somebody to even qualify to be annexed in. And whether that's annexed in the city of Cullman or Good Hope, or Hanceville, whatever, there's still procedures in place that's got to happen. We have heard a lot of rumors. I know Dan probably has heard certain things too. You don't know what to believe, but I know ultimately it is a hot topic, and we want to be sensitive to this district, not only the district, but the whole county, but especially those folks down in Cold Springs that are closer to this, and make sure it's not going to be something that's detrimental to our communities. And from traveling around and listening to folks, their top priorities is roads, bridges, schools, volunteer fire departments. That's what's resonating in the district that I've been going to. Have they brought that up? Absolutely they have. But it's one of those situations that I think if we make ourselves available, they know we're actually going to show up to Montgomery like we're showing up to this debate today, and realize, you know what, Clint's going to answer my call. If I end up want to meet with him, he's going to meet with me, and let's talk about it. But I hate to kind of get into a bunch of hypotheticals on something that may or may not even happen. And I just hate that it's gotten to the point that a social media post a long time ago came out and really stirred things up. Whether you're whatever side of this you're on, it's not good for Cullman County. It's just not, and it just makes things, the quarreling and just the emotions just go crazy. And we all know what happens when we start making decisions out of emotion. It's not good for anybody. It's not good for me. It's not good for this district or Cullman County. And so I think the biggest thing is going around to these different communities. I love what Sheriff Gentry has done when he does even the hamburgers and hot dogs. It's an opportunity for folks to come and let's talk about the issues. Let's talk about what concerns you. And I love seeing the reaction from these senior citizens that love having us there so they can ask the questions. So let's get the story right. And I want to make sure I'm available going forward and keep that going for all our community to make sure that their voice is heard and make sure that they do have a vote. If it's something worth voting on, let's make sure people are educated. And like I said, the devil is in the details. We've got to make sure and understand what we're voting on and what we're doing. But we also have heard a lot of our school folks and our folks with roads and homeowners and businesses saying we've got to have some help. We've got to put it in dadgum 4 low just to get to my house out here in the county or the lake home or whatever because the roads are so bad. And I know that the commission's probably doing the best they can, but you've only got so much money there. And so, in a dream world, if we could wave a wand and this retail development is able to bring the revenue in and does it in a safe manner where you've got a full-time police station, a full-time fire station that's fully staffed, that is state-of-the-art, where they've got to respond to these medical calls. They've got to respond to these calls on the lake. They've got to help when a business owner, Brett Crider, for instance, on Sunday had a fire with an AC unit that fortunately that volunteer fire department responded and was able to put that fire out. Otherwise, it could have gotten into this whole other operation. So, and our insurance rates will also lower for the business owner and the homeowner. So if this does happen, there are some positives that could happen from the actual development. But like what Dan has mentioned, you've got 2 different issues going on here. You've got the bill, and then you got the potential, is this going to be a resort? What all is going to be encompassed with this? And until I see this, which I have not yet, the details of it, it's hard to really form a strong opinion on something that there's still a lot of question marks. So that's where I stand at this moment.
All right. Thank you, sir, for that question, or for that answer. We're going to stick with you, Mr. Hollingsworth, and this is kind of leads into our next, which is economic development versus local control. How do you balance economic development incentives with protecting the rights of local residents and small businesses who may be affected by large-scale resorts or retail developments?
So we actually just had this discussion just the other day because not all incentives are good. A lot of times there's a of like, yeah, we're going to do this, and it's like there's some criteria that need to be involved. Does it truly create the jobs that they say it's going to? What kind of cannibalization is going to happen? Being a small business owner, and Dan too, the last thing I want to do is have one more competitor come in, especially a big box. Now, however, there's also a duty, I think, to meet the demand for certain things too. You got a Mary Carter paint store, which is a nice locally owned and operated store, but you also have Walmart, and there's roles for both here, And so I think that it is a delicate balance when you look at these incentive packages, that you kind of have to dangle the carrot out a lot of times because there's certain things they've got to meet in order to get that incentive. And I think that's so important because I think there's an idea out there that they're going to automatically get it, and that's not the case. They've got to create these jobs. They've got to do the things that they're going to promise and the investment made in order to get those incentives. So for a lot of the things that we've done, it's been great, but it's not always something that we want to do. And going forward, I think the biggest thing with this council, whoever's elected, is they're going to have to relook at some of the ways we've done it in the past. Because let's face it, where we were 10, 15, 20 years ago is a lot different. And because I've seen the industrial development, the growth, the expansions, which were great. I've also seen the retail growth and development and been a part of it. Publix, Dick's Sporting Goods, that whole area of retail was dead and dying. We had merchants saying, y'all have got to do something. And so Publix came here 3 or 4 times before they finally said yes, and they've killed it. Dick's Sporting Goods, that whole Ulta, all of that area has been fantastic, not just for those merchants, but you've seen other development trickle up Highway 31, which eventually is going to connect 157. And so I think, you know, once you do a certain project, you love to see how it comes out, and that particular retail project has done very well and has met a lot of the things that customers have asked us, not customers, or residents have asked us for, because they don't want to have to go to Decatur or Birmingham or Huntsville to buy certain things. They want to eat here, they want to shop here, and we need that sales tax to go forward. That's what pays the bills locally, is the sales tax. It helps the city and the county, and what's good for the city is good for the county, what's good for the county is good for the city, and it's a unique tax breakdown. And so all this goes full circle from small business to bigger business. It's all part of part of our city and our county and district that everybody benefits if it's structured the right way.
Thank you, sir, for that answer. Mr. McWhorter, would you like me to repeat the question,
Sure.
sir? All right. This leads into economic development versus local control. How do you balance economic development incentives with protecting the rights of local residents and small businesses who may be affected by large-scale resort or retail developments?
Well, that's interesting because a lot of what I've heard on the talking to people is that Cullman is starting to lose its small town feel. We're starting to get a massive amount of traffic through here. Some of the people I've approached just recently at some of the events are from out of state, Ohio, Tennessee. They're bringing in tax dollars. I think maybe our expansion could be happening a little too quick for some of the older residents. I think when you're bringing somebody, we don't need to sacrifice our quality of life for another box store. I think we should be picky with our incentives. We do have a great quality of life. A lot of people moved out here years ago, and we're watching it slowly disappear. The quality of life on Smith Lake, you're going to put a 2,100 acre resort, 3 golf courses, airport, large hotel. I mean, sure, it brings money in, but it's going to bring a lot of traffic. When we moved up here, Smith Lake had 600 miles of shoreline. It's over 700 miles of shoreline now. That's the erosion that's going on. That's the lake getting bigger but getting shallower. So I think you gotta be really careful on who comes in, what they bring to the table, what kind of incentives there are. Having said that, some of the people who have come in and had gotten incentives I think, contribute greatly to what Cullman has to offer. And so it's a true double-edged sword.
Can I say something to that? Were you able to?
I'm going to give you both 20 seconds each to rebut.
I just wanted to say that, yes, a lot of the same things, but I think the biggest thing I've talked about is I can deal with somebody that comes to me, Clint, it takes me 10 minutes longer to get to home. Hey, this growth, traffic, all these kind of things. I get it. We all deal with it. But what is so hard to reverse and so hard to deal with is when they come to me, I can't find a job. I can't support my family. I'm having to close down my business. Those are real problems.
Mr. McWhorter?
I don't have any comment for that.
All right. And this leads us to number 8, Mr. McWhorter. Your legislative philosophy. If elected, how will you ensure your vote reflects the will of District 12 residents, not Montgomery lobbyists, political party leaders, or large donors?
Well, I don't have any large donors and or political party leaders per se, so those wouldn't come into effect. I think communication is the best way. We would like to leave up our phone, certainly my phone number and my Facebook page. I've never been on Facebook until now, so that's a new method of communication. And it's a two-way street. The fact that the last election was basically 3,000 people showed up in a special election that's going to affect how this state or this county moves forward in the next 4 years, the next session anyway. So it's I think we could vote the will of the people. I think it takes a concerted effort, but it's a two-way street. You got to have the electorate get in touch with you and tell you how they feel, and like I said, the communication through phone, text, email would be helpful.
And Mr. Hollingsworth, would you like me to repeat that question?
Sure, that'd be great.
It's your legislative philosophy. If elected, how will you ensure your vote reflects the will of District 12 residents, not Montgomery lobbyists, political party leaders, or large donors?
You know, I think that from some of the travels, I was down at Colony, their senior center, and precious people down there. And they told me, said, Clint, we've had so many people come through here, everybody's wanting our vote and all this kind of stuff. Because I asked them, I said, what can I do to help? What's your top 1 or 2 things that we can do to make improvements? And they just said, don't forget us. Don't forget us down here. Because a lot of times people come through, we don't ever see them again. And I think that the way technology is, which, people want to bash technology, and yes, there's a bad side of it that we see with cyberbullying and all these kind of things, but when it comes to getting in contact, whether it's through Instagram, a Facebook, a TikTok, or obviously a text message, phone call, you can get in touch with folks better than any way ever since when I was a kid. If I wanted to be able to send a message to my NBA, idol Larry Bird, and for the Celtics back then, I couldn't reach that guy. Now you've got access to be able to send him a message or do all sorts of things now that you never could. So as a public official, you've got to make sure you're available, but also be in tune with some of these ways for them to contact you. Now, sometimes you may not be able to, respond as quick as they want to, but you certainly need to be able to be in tune with that. And as far as, special interests in these things, I'm proud to be a small business owner in the automotive industry and getting support of my constituents. I'm proud to have locals that see confidence in me, that want to invest, and certainly want my, obviously I've asked for their support and they've given my support. But in sales, if you don't ask for it, you won't get it. And so you've got to ask for it. Same way when we go to Montgomery, when I'm down there, I'm going to ask for funding for my district. And I'm going to expect to get it. And if I don't get it, I'm going to be persistent, and I'm going to keep showing up until I take care of my people. Because ultimately, if I don't take care of my district, then they're going to kick me out. And that's the great thing about an election every 4 years. If you're not showing up and doing your job, even when it gets hard, even when you think you may get embarrassed or maybe you're uncomfortable a little bit, you still show up and you fight for your district and you see it through. You see it through. And so it's so important that people, that resonates with them, this guy's going to go down there and fight and bring home funding and grants for our volunteer fire departments, our roads, our school system, our needs throughout this district and all of Cullman County. And once again, I've been doing that for my constituents here in Cullman. I'll continue to do that in Montgomery for my district. And I'm proud of that, and I have a record that we can point to on it.
I'd like to make a comment.
I'm going to give you both 20 seconds on that. All right.
I've been to Colony a couple of times, and they are interesting in that they are one of the few interstate interchanges that have not been developed. The people I've spoken with mentioned that a lot of their younger people are leaving and moving out of that area. They're wanting to see if there's any way to get development into that area. I've offered them to either go to an enterprise zone or an opportunity zone, and I'm waiting to hear back.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hollingsworth?
And I've actually talked with the fire chief the other night. We had a little forum with all the chiefs throughout the volunteer fire departments throughout the county, and I'm meeting with them Monday night and talking about their needs down there. And so it's important, once again, to answer the question, you got to show up, you got to be available, and that people need to know that you care and you listen first.
Thank you both. I'm going to grab your notes before we do our closing statements.
Okay. That's a bill. You want to pay that for me?
Don't think I could. All right. And Mr. Hollingsworth, we let you go first on opening statement. Mr. McWhorter, we're going to let you go first on our closing statements. You both have 2 minutes.
Okay.
Mason.
Well, I think we need a change in Montgomery. I don't think we have adequate representation. We have actually no representation in the last year or so. And when SB 322 went through, there was nobody in the House to voice a different opinion. It kind of sailed through. I don't know why we actually needed SB 322 if you had SB 328. So that's kind of problematic. I hear a lot of that. The quality of life out in Cold Springs and out in that part of the lake has been deteriorating. I don't think this project going out there is going to help us much. I don't know if it will get off the ground. Like Clint says, it may be a nothing burger, but there is a lot of money being thrown at this. And I think back to representing your constituents, I hear what they're saying. And again, one of my platforms is to repeal 322.
All right. Is that it, sir? All right. Mr. Hollingsworth, you have 2 minutes on your closing statement, sir.
Yes, I just obviously ask for your vote for July the 15th and your support, but more importantly, your prayers going forward. This has been a long campaign, even though it's a short window, those days and nights and going door to door, putting up signs. It's been very educational, but it definitely is a lot of work. And I hope people have seen that I truly am working to earn your trust and vote. And it's important to me, and it's important that everybody is represented. And it's one of those we're going to continue to work. I think that some of the things that are concerning that I've kind of heard from constituents are volunteer fire departments. I was at Cold Springs, and a gentleman that's the fire chief there said, "Clint, we're working off radios that are over 20 years old." And to me, the most fundamental thing about their job in public safety is communication. And we've got to get them new radios, and they're not the only ones. And so we've got to, once again, when you show up and you listen to people, you get to understand what the needs are. When you hear folks that have built a nice home, or they've been in that area for 50 years and they haven't had their road paved since 1995, those are things that are concerning. These are things that we need to address. And yes, there's only so much money to go around. But once again, you've got to show up as a public official. In my experience, being in the public eye and representing Cullman for these years matters. It's going to make a difference when we go to Montgomery. And so I obviously want to know, let folks know that I will be available and I will work hard and I'll make sure that we get what we need for this district. And I appreciate your support and prayers and vote on July 15th, this Tuesday.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. McWhorter, Mr. Hollingsworth, for both showing up for this debate and answering the questions and, answering to the best of both of your abilities. And I know our readers and watchers are happy to actually see people come in and instead of just a normal forum setting, actually have a normal debate. Yes. Thank you both. I appreciate you. I appreciate you both.
Good, thank you.
Yes.
And we are going to end this debate. And thank you both, and thank you for everyone watching.
Thanks for the invite.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.